I'd like to share with you a story that was powerful regarding a 33-year-old male client of mine. And it is my hope that what I shared with him is a help to someone the way it was to him. He's 33. He is separated. He and his wife have been married for 7 years. They have one child together. And he said, Doc, I reached out to you because I had an affair on my wife, and I shared it with my wife, and it devastated her. I said, she caught you in an affair? He said, no. He said, I had a one-time thing that wasn't planned. It happened, and it really weighed on his conscience, and he told her, and it destroyed her. And he said he reached out to me because he wanted some work and some help to work through his behavior. I said, well, how does the wife feel? He said, well, besides devastated, she is open to working things out, mainly because, I was just so forthcoming. It was a one-time thing. Those factors mattered. She said, or he said rather, but her family is giving her a hard time because she's willing to work it out. And in turn, of course, giving him a hard time, and it's creating more strain on them. I said, that makes sense. I said, so how did the family, number one, learn about it? He said, well, she told a family member, and of course it spread that way. I said, cool. So I figured that, but I said, let's deal with this first. And this is the easy part. The easy part is she should have never told her family about the affair if her intent was to consider possibly staying. Now, this doesn't mean she needs to be quiet, because oftentimes when people experience things like this and they don't say anything to anyone, it is the beginning of abuse. So I'm not saying she should have been quiet, but she should have told somebody who was able to hear it and remain objective. And most people, whether they want to realize it or not, or admit it or not, most people don't have objective people in their family. People you can tell things, good or bad, that can hear it and give you honest perspective that is completely non-biased. I said, this is why instead of family, maybe she should have come to a counselor, a coach, a therapist, whatever. I said, but when you run to your family after you've been offended, the problem with that is not only are they not objective, but if you decide to stay long after you and her have made up, they're going to still be mad. I said, so that's mistake number one. That's not on you. I said, but the other thing you need to realize is that you're married to her and not her family. I said to him, have you ever been arrested? He said, no. I said, have you ever had a warrant for your arrest? He said, no, fortunately. I said, cool. I said, one of the things I know about being arrested, not personally, but definitely through working with a lot of people and just knowing a lot of people, is that the best thing you can do when you have a warrant for your arrest is not to run, but to turn yourself in. Because when you turn yourself in, it may not absolve you from the consequences of your actions, but it does send a signal to the people that will be overseeing your case that you want to do something to try to work things out. It sends a signal of contrition, maybe even sends a signal of remorse. I said, I want to say to you that in all of the years I've been doing counseling and coaching work, I can't think of one time where I've talked to a client who has been involved in something like this, and the reason why they have complications is because they admitted it. Not, normally they're caught, normally they're busted, normally, somebody grabbed their phone and read text messages, whatever. Said, but I can't recall a time where somebody said, Doc, I'm in this position and I'm in it because I admitted it. And let me tell you what this says about you. I said to him, as long as you have a conscience, you always have a chance. I don't care what happens in your life, what goes on in your life, what goes wrong in your life, what you do in your life that isn't right or good. As long as you feel bad about it, you have a chance. I said, because I'm going to be honest with you. I don't have a problem with guilty people. Not at all. I don't have a problem with people who are who have done wrong. I don't have a problem with that. What I have a problem with are people who walk around as if they are God's gift to earth and won't admit the flaws that they have, just like everybody else. I don't have a problem with flawed people, but the only thing worse than a guilty or flawed person is a person who won't admit their guilt or flaws. I said, sir, you're in a powerful position because you recognize the power of admitting what's wrong with you. And I told him, I said, your story is going to help a lot of people. I said, but here's what you've got to do. I said, you've got to continue to heal and work through the behaviors. And, you know, he's a client now and we're going to be working through some things. So you got to continue to work through those behaviors that got us there in the first place. I said, but here's the other thing you're going to have to do. And this is going to bless you for the rest of your life. You have to learn how to heal from perfect people. Unfortunately, there are a lot of people that walk around. There are a lot of people on social media that comment on posts, that do videos, that whatever, that you would think they do everything right based on the things they say, write, comment, whatever. And you're going to have to heal from perfect people. And once you get healed from perfect people, quote unquote, you're going to discover that you're in a far better position than most people, because a person who has the strength to admit what's wrong with them is also a person who has the ability to change what's wrong with them. I hope this made sense. If it did, type church in the comments with 3 R's. And then remember, you've got 2 jobs. 1, be better today than what you were yesterday. And 2, don't forget what I told you.